music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we go on with the show, the Hear Me Out Bro podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hear Me Out Bro podcast. This is our first episode, and I'd like to introduce my brother Clark.
Alahoyas.
And I'm Eric. And yeah, we've talked about having a podcast for a long time, but we always had this hang up of like having to license music and everything else. So finally we decided we could just make a playlist that you can all check out along with our discussions here. If you'd like to listen along to the playlist at the same time as the podcast, you can find all of our playlists for every episode by going to YouTube and searching for at HMOBP, Hear Me Out Bro Podcast, HMOBP. That will take you to our channel, and you can subscribe there, and you'll get a notification every time we come out with a new playlist. So this is just in the meaning of like sharing good music, discussing good music, talking about our memories and things like that of what this music means to us, and then also to share music so people can learn about new music or learn things about music that they've heard before, but maybe didn't really give it a real good listen to in the past.
Right. Yeah, and we're not going to be Wikipedia. We're not going to be Professor of Rock. You're not going to get the history of everything. It's just, our feelings and our experience with these songs.
Yeah, and it's all just going to be positive stuff. We're not going to like trash any bands or anything. And right. we might not mention bands, but we're from a particular time and place. We grew up in like the North Bay area of California, and we're not from New Jersey, we're not from Texas, we're not from Detroit or Chicago or anywhere else. So we have our blind spots for sure, but if you want to be part of our community, we'd love to hear about like lesser known regional bands, sharing any of your memories that you might have.
Yeah, and, totally. We want to hear it.
If you want to reach out to us, you can do so at hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. Hear Me Out Bro Podcast.
Yeah, this podcast is all about like the love of music and sharing it with people you love.
Yeah, all music is valid. We are going to have a rating system when we talk about songs, just like a quick rating, but it's going to start at 35. We're going to use like the American Bandstand rate a record thing. Start at 35, because if you went through the effort to go into a studio and write a song and get a band together, you get a participation points right there.
Totally.
And it goes up to 98. Yeah, goes up to 98 because there's no such thing as the perfect song. There could be, but that's the way it's rated. So yeah, and we'll share the playlists with you. We'll try and have one on Spotify. We'll try and have one on YouTube, depending on how you listen, if you want to check out the music. Yeah. And as we get into things, we'll probably end up with a Patreon or a Ko-fi or something, some way for people to get more involved, and we'll have some secret prizes and benefits and stuff that'll come up. But this is just our first episode. We're just getting the ball rolling here.
Yep.
Yeah. So, one of the things we've talked about for a long time, I mean, we love music podcasts. We love getting turned on to new music. We love hearing old music that we never were exposed to back in the old days. And like there's lots of podcasts that we listen to. Kind of the original concept for this, I heard a podcast one time. It's called analyze fish. And these two comedians, one of them loved fish and the other was just like totally indifferent to him. And it was the one guy trying to convince the other guy why fish was so great. And we have a bit of an age gap. I'm 57 and you're 50, right?
Yep.
So
7 years.
we have a 7-year age gap. So, I have a little bit of like the 60s and early 70s in me, and Clark has more of the kind of the
Your
90s and the
70s and
80s, and
80s.
yeah. So we're exposed to a lot of the same stuff growing up in the same household, but we also have different experiences, and we kind of grew up in different peer groups and things. So yeah, another one that's a big one for both of us is Rocknology. What a killer podcast that was. And he probably stopped because of the licensing and things like that, or he just got busy with his band or other things.
His
But
restaurant.
yeah, what a great show that was, Rocknology.
Totally.
And
That's why I said Alohoyus. That was from Valley himself.
yeah, and so we both love that one. Pods and Sods Network. Those guys talk about all kinds of stuff. They'll do albums, they'll do types of music, TV shows, they do all kinds of things. But that's a good music lovers one too. But so we might on some episodes be trying to convince each other to like listen to a certain band, or we might share a genre. Yeah, or we might do like a theme thing, like bands from a certain country, or like a certain state or a certain city. We might focus on certain bands. But for our first episode today, we're going to talk about AOR, album oriented rock.
Yep.
And
so we should start out by giving our definition of AOR, because when I was making my playlist, there was a lot of overlap and a lot of different things that were considered AOR, but they didn't really fit my definition of AOR. Like there were plenty of like Christian album oriented rock playlists out there, and then there was also the overlap with adult oriented rock.
yeah,
And
it's
like
very broad.
Melodic rock.
Yeah, melodic rock
like,
is one you'll find on YouTube searches a lot.
Yeah, and all of the playlists that I looked at, like none of them like really fit my definition of what I think of when I think of AOR.
So what shoehorns it into the AOR definition for you, or the genre?
Well, it has to have kind of a blue collar yearning, like striving for something more.
Yeah.
And it has to, your hand just kind of has to automatically clench into a fist, like ready for fist pumping.
Like I'm a little guy, I'm a common guy, but if I fight and work hard enough, I can have victory.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's the sound too. Like
right.
I think on they wanted radio hits. So a lot of it is like pretty slick production and like it's driving rock, but it doesn't like ever kind of spill into metal, what you consider metal. It's always pretty melodic, it doesn't go minor or have the flat fifth in it like Black Sabbath or anything.
Right.
And for me, it's got to have like synthesizer in it too.
Definitely.
Like there's a lot of rock bands where there's like Hammond organ or something. That's a rock band. That could be a heavy rock band or a hard rock band. But unless it's got like that kind of 80s cheesy
Yeah,
synthesizer stuff
that's
going in it.
spacey synth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably like a Yamaha DX7 or something,
Right.
synthesis.
Yeah, you don't want to take an organ on tour.
Yeah. And it'll have little breaks in there so the vocals really stand out,
Yep.
and kind of driving guitar, kind of a plodding bass line that's like pretty simple and easy to like get behind.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So, I mean, to me that's AOR. And it's there's ballads and things too, but it's
Oh,
always
definitely.
that slick production. It's got a certain sound, and it kind of represents a certain time and place.
But the ballads on these albums are like just as rocking as the rock songs.
Yeah,
Like it's not like Bath from
right.
Kiss,
Right. Some of the songs are for dudes, some of the songs are for chicks,
but they
and some
all
of the
rock.
songs are for dudes and chicks.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and kind of mass appeal. It's meant for everybody. It's meant for like
Oh yeah.
movies and little kids and old folks and
Yeah, like
yeah.
lowest common denominator, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's inclusive.
Yeah, it's got appeal.
Yeah.
So now kind of my background musically is well, I was into like Beach Boys and 50s music like when I was a little kid. But I mean eventually I was into metal and punk and stuff. And a lot of this stuff I secretly liked it, but at the same time I was like too cool to listen to a lot of this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Or like it had like a cheesy like appeal to it,
Right.
because it was so good and like it felt good to hear it, but it was, it wasn't cool.
Right.
Yeah. If you thought it was cool, then you were probably kind of a dork or like a meathead jock or something. But
Right.
no offense to all you meathead jocks out there. We
Definitely.
love you. Um, but it's like it's music you'd hear like blasting out of a, like a Camaro or something,
Right.
So, and I could never afford a Camaro.
Me neither.
So, yeah. But so that's kind of our definition. But yeah, so like I went through a thing like just a few years ago. I kind of went back to revisit a lot of these bands that I had kind of like written off because it's like, oh, well,
Me
they're
too.
just mainstream or whatever. But there's a lot to like. So
Oh yeah.
I think that's kind of
Well,
what we're going to cover today.
yeah. I also used to work for the post office, so a lot of times I'd be driving around in a truck listening to music on the radio, and or even just like taking road trips, and it's like you're listening to like the classic rock station, and it's like one of these songs comes on, and it's like, oh, sorry, yeah, the conversation's over, and the knob is being turned to the right, like,
Yeah. Gives you that little lift.
yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
windows are going down, volume knobs going up.
Yeah. Music should make your life better. Music should enhance your life. And if you give this music a chance, it has the power to do that.
Nice. All right.
So
On
we
that
we
note,
kind of had like a loose framework here. We are going to try and do like 2 songs from the classic era, 2 songs from lesser known kind of things that you might not have heard blaring out through every radio station or at the movie theater. And then maybe like some kind of torchbearers of like newish bands, like more recent bands that are still carrying that flame of that AOR type sound.
right. And then we'll throw in
So
some honorable mentions at the end.
yeah, because it's such a broad thing, and there's so much good stuff here. We got to have some honorable mentions. A
Totally.
dozen songs is just going to be the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and some of them might not necessarily be like, right in the bullseye of AOR, but they might be like one of my picks is kind of like an answer to AOR.
Cool.
Like it's kind of like, oh, okay, we could do that.
Nice.
Let's write this song.
All right. So what's our first song on the playlist?
Alrighty, our first song up is "Head Games" by Foreigner.
So Foreigner was like half American and half British band.
Okay.
And like, yeah, I don't know. Lou Gramm, man, what a singer. That voice. It's like iconic.
Yeah.
I know I said earlier that like most AOR is like a really slick production.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they got away with like how blown out those tom fills were. They're like 10 times louder than all the rest of the song, and they're totally like distorting, like, yeah.
Right.
But it's still cool.
That was the other thing I wanted to bring up with like my definition of AOR. Like the singer has to be iconic, but not like virtuoso.
Right. It can't be like Dio or something that's like,
Yeah. Or
it's
Bruce
just like,
Dickinson.
yeah, that guy's a good singer. He's got a good,
Yeah.
strong voice. Yeah. Although Lou Gramm, yeah, he's not quite there. He's not on the Mount Rushmore. So, yeah, honestly, like, I bought a Marshall stack, like a 72 Marshall JMP 50. And I started playing Les Paul. I was always like a Stratocaster guy and played other amps. But so I was like trying to find like quintessential Les Paul through a Marshall sounds.
Yeah.
And so I went to like the gear page and like, what are some of the best sounding just straight Marshall tones. And Foreigner was the guy in Foreigner, the guitar player, was one that a lot of people mentioned. So I was like, oh, I should give them that's when I was also going through that thing of like starting to listen to bands that I thought I was too cool to listen to back when I was younger in high school or whatever. So yeah, that kind of like directed me down the path of like, I'd hear like all the stuff from Foreigner 4. It was like unavoidable, like Jukebox Hero. You'd hear it at like a church dance or something.
Right.
It was kind of like, eh.
Should we do rating or?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, let's talk about the album cover first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did mention that before.
I have a love-hate thing going with this album cover. I kind of love it.
Yeah, I'd
It's
never
so
seen it
bad,
until
but it's
we
so
put it on the
bad.
playlist. Yeah, it's I mentioned before, it's not the least misogynistic album cover ever.
No. It's in the running.
Yeah, it's pretty problematic.
And as far as like bathroom album covers, like it's not as bad as UFO Force It, and it's not as bad as like a lot of those things where there's people actually on the toilet, like Millie Jackson, that are always like on the top 100 worst album covers of all time. But yeah, way to go, Foreigner.
Yeah, yep, it's something.
Yeah.
What year did that song come out?
I think it's like their third album, because like Double Vision was before that, and then there was like their self-titled album. So this is this got to be late 70s, like Head Games, 1979, September 79.
Okay.
So heading
Yeah.
into the 80s. So what's your
Okay. My
first
first
pickup?
pick is a pretty easy one. I don't usually like songs with long intros, but some songs with long intros have a great payoff, and this is one of them.
Well, you get that build up.
Yeah.
These guys were basically a local
Right.
band.
My first pick is Sister Christian by Night Ranger.
Good one. Good pick.
It's not my favorite song, but it's one of those songs that when it comes on the radio, it's like you're not going to change the station.
No.
You're going to turn it up.
And you know all the words.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's in your DNA now.
Exactly.
That was another one of those church dance songs too.
Totally.
Because it would start out with the piano. So it was like, and then the guys would get to like air guitar or whatever. Yeah. You start out slow dancing, and then in the middle you're like doing air guitar.
Yeah.
And then back to slow dancing again at the end.
We're only going to talk about songs that we like on this podcast. So I probably will never get to tell my DJing the church dance song or tale.
Oh wait, did we do ratings yet?
Oh no, we didn't.
So Sister Christian. That's a pretty good song.
Yeah. So how do we want to do ratings? Are each of us going to give a score?
We're each going to give a rating, and then we'll average it.
And then it gets average. Okay, yeah. That's right. Okay, so should we go back and do...
So at a 98? Yeah, okay, Head Games. I'd give Headed Games like a 75. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's rocking, but there's a little awkwardness, and like they have like the way the guitar comes around. So I'm thinking like a mid to high 70s. Like I'll just 76. We'll give it a 76.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that one part of the song right before the keyboard bridge. Lets me down a little bit, but it's like, I don't know. I give it a 70.
Okay. Yeah, Lou Graham's voice, the synthesizer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, so Sister Christian. I mean, it's iconic. I got to give it like a 90. Maybe like a 92. I mean, they wrote a killer song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give Sister Christian a 92. That's that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I want to give it 69 just for the lulz. I'm going to have to go. Yeah, I'll give it a 90.
90, nice. And for me, it's like those guys were a local band, you know, like you'd see them walking around town. And what was the band the bass player Jack Blades was in before? I can't remember the band he was in, but you know, they're all playing at like Magnolias and Joe Froggers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd see that guy walking around town and just like, you know, it was like local boy does good kind of thing, you know? And it was when I was in high school, you know, it's just, yeah, it's got that nostalgia factor, I think, which got to
Yeah, it's like
put it up over a 90 for me.
yeah, and it's like firsthand blue collar accessibility that it's like, oh yeah, like I've seen this guy. He's a regular guy.
They are one of the bands when I started going through my stuff I was too cool to listen to. That's one of the first albums I picked up. Was that first album. So,
Nice.
all right, Sister Christian.
Next up is I Can't Hold Back by Survivor.
So there we go.
That was
So
pretty good. I've never heard that song before.
really,
Yeah,
you never saw Paul Blart Mall Cop?
it did, but I think
It's in there.
yeah, I must have blocked that out.
So, and before we get into it, you also picked a Survivor song.
It's true.
You
They're
want to
the
give
only
your
ones that
pick, and
are
we'll give that a listen.
the only ones that are on. Well, no, they're not the only ones who are on our list twice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we have some torchbearers that we both like a
Definitely.
lot. Nice.
So I think we should rate this.
Oh, rate I Can't Hold Back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's up to you. Do you want to rate this one or listen
You
to the other Survivor song?
kind of got to see the video too, because it's pretty good.
Okay.
um,
Well, it's like there's a
yeah,
video for Sister Christian too, but I didn't watch
right,
it because I was like, I don't want it to influence like
right. Yeah, we're just talking music here. We're talking radio. If we heard
yeah,
this on the
exactly.
radio,
Like what you're listening to in your Camaro as you're
yeah.
like rocking
But the
down the highway.
video is really good. Go watch it. It's really
Okay.
good. Can't Hold Back. I don't know. That song just makes me feel good when I listen to it.
Oh yeah, it's super feel good. I was gonna say it's almost too positive. Like there's that little like kind of
Yeah.
chimey bell keyboard little riff
Yeah. And it's the,
melody or whatever. Like I mean it's great. It's just that was a little too I don't know.
yeah. And the romantic in me kind of likes those cheesy songs too.
Oh yeah,
For me, that's kind of a karaoke night go-to also. You know,
nice.
so I'm a little biased there. I'm gonna give it like an 85, like a good solid 85.
Okay. Yeah, it was
It's not
just
the
like a
best
little
song in the
too
world, but it's a good song.
yeah. It had a little too much like I don't know, melody is not the right word. I guess it is the right word. Yeah. It was a
The
little
little
too
hummable parts, the little
yeah.
dee nee 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 nee.
Well, no, that part was fine, but just I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a 65.
65.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
No, it's all right. It is
It was
what it
like just a
is.
little too chimey for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
So yeah, my next pick, also from Survivor, is kind of the heavy hitter of the entire playlist, in my opinion. Like there's just no more quintessential AOR song for me.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
It's
I only didn't pick this one just because it's a little too obvious.
yeah, same.
But you can't not include it.
Exactly.
It's
So
not
I
an
was like,
honorable mention. It's a banger.
yeah,
I mean, come on.
it's like it punches its way onto the list.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to
Yeah,
introduce
so
Survivor, Eye of the
Eye of
Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger.
That's like one of my responses that I want to use. If people ask me, "Hey, how's it going?" Oh, hanging tough, staying hungry.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic. Yeah, it's just it's such a good song. There's like walk on songs, like fighters walking on or walking to the
Yeah.
ring that haven't aged as well. Like you could still play that today and people would just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's straight business.
Well, it's probably like you, like A, because of Rocky, and then B, it being like so what it is. Like
It
they probably
captured it.
banned it. Like it's banned as a walk-on song.
Yeah, because it's not fair for you to use it and not your opponent.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
or sorry, your rival.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's probably like, playing Stairway to Heaven in the guitar store. Like it's just like, no, come on. Like we
Right,
know
right, right.
you're you're just here for that one fight. We have to be here all day. Like
Okay, so
we can't hear Eye of the Tiger 20 times on one card, one
right,
fight
right.
card.
So a while ago, like when I was like, like a young adolescent and I
Yeah.
heard that
A
song,
wee lad.
it was like, oh hell yeah, that's badass, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you would walk different if that song was playing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that song, I had all these favorite songs back then. That song, uh these 238 special songs that just like scratched that itch.
Yep.
And then like we used to listen to all these radio stuff too, and they'd always play that Ides of March song, Vehicle. I'm
Uh-huh.
your vehicle, baby, take you anywhere
Yeah.
you want to go. So I dug all those songs, and it turns out that the same guy, the same dude is behind all of those songs.
Really?
Jim Paterick.
Okay.
Yeah, he sang that Ides of March song. He sang that when he was like still a teenager. Like, I mean, he sounds like this like loud, powerful, soulful voice, but he was still a teenager when he wrote that. It was about this girl that he wanted to hook up with, that he would give a
Well,
ride to junior college. She was like going to beauty school or something, and he thought they were gonna like, get together and stuff. But it turns out she was
right.
just using him to get rides to school and like kind of taking advantage of him. That's why he
Mm-hmm.
wrote that song about she was just using him for his vehicle, basically. But
Oh,
he also wrote those 238 special songs, and he was also like one of the main writers in Survivor.
dang.
And he's still at it, which we'll find out later on in the show.
Yep.
So what do you give Eye of the Tiger? And we're doing
And
a
I
whole
want
show. We're doing our first show on AOR, and this song is AOR.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what is the Da Vinci sketch? The Vitruvian Man?
Yeah.
This this is like the Vitruvian Man of AOR. Like,
Yeah. And it made all AOR songs better after it,
exactly.
which may be why we're discounting. And when did Rocky come out?
I think it was 79.
I think it was earlier than that, but maybe that's why we're discounting
76.
so
Yeah,
many.
you're right.
Yes. So maybe that's why we're discounting so many of the like earlier things that would also qualify. It's because they were,
Right.
what would you say? BEOT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before
Before
Eye
Eye
of
of
the
the
Tiger.
Tiger. Yeah. There's
Yeah, it was
before Eye of the Tiger
like a
and
sea
after Eye of the
change.
Tiger.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's got to be.
definitely.
Oh, man. So So what's your rating?
Yeah, I
Sister
mean, I have to
Christian's
give
iconic just as a song.
totally, but it's like so is this kind of that. It's like,
Well, for what this is like the song.
yeah, like if we're just talking AOR, it's the 98 for sure. But then it's like
Are you going to
who
give it the
doesn't
98?
who doesn't like Eye of the Tiger?
Even ironically, you might like it
Yeah,
ironically, but you can't like it ironically when it's playing,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like you could hate rock and roll, but it's like, well, yeah, Eye of the Tiger. That song slaps.
Are we going to give it the closest to a perfect song that you can get? Are we going to give it the 98 first show
I
right
mean,
out of the bat? Something's going to like ring the bell.
'cause I mean, there are other songs that are as good for sure, but like, is there a song that's better?
For our topic today, I would say no. There aren't any songs that are better.
Right.
Better
Okay.
songs
Well,
for better for different genres,
yeah,
but
exactly.
I don't want to be too easy, but I think we should
I mean,
just
I
give it a
could go
98.
97 just to
We
just
should
to leave like one notch in the tank, but it's like,
what could
you
they
know,
have done better?
we could
The
do
production, the guy's voice,
yeah, it's
the way it was
Chef
delivered
Kiss.
to the masses,
Yep.
you know? I mean, it could have just come out on an album and then it would have just been a song on an album. That was a great song.
Yeah.
But like
It
coming out
still would have been
on
a
Rocky,
classic. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was just like the perfect vehicle
Yeah.
for the song. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can just picture him like running up those stairs and slugging those sides of beef and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
cuz I mean,
the whole working man thing, how we talked about AOR being working man. I
exactly.
mean,
Exactly.
fish in a barrel. I think we got to give it I think we just got to give it a 98.
Like we could go 97 just so there's like there, there's still one more.
But they couldn't have done what they did any better than they did it.
Exactly. And then
So
like we could
I think we just got to give it to them and move on.
we could do 1,000 episodes on every genre of music and everything, every song we ever liked. And
Yeah.
on my deathbed, I could look at our you know top listings and die happy knowing that Eye of the Tiger was like at the top.
Rung the bell.
Yeah, or like
Topped the
you know,
stairs and spun around with
rubbing
its fists up.
shoulders with the other 98s.
If there are
Yeah,
any. Yeah.
top of the
Okay.
top of the stairs.
And if you want to give it a 97, I could give it a 98 and we could call it a 97 and a half. But there was no
No,
halfway with these guys.
no,
Pater hit it out of the park.
yeah,
It's a 98.
it's a
Let's just
98.
move on. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
98. So, if anybody's still listening, we're going to move into the portion of the show which is like kind of lesser known songs. I mean, we're not saying you've never heard of these bands, but they're definitely from that era and they could have been just as big as anybody else, but you know how record companies are and exposure and who management and who knows what else happened, but for some reason these people like flew a little under the radar or maybe they were just like a regional thing. You know, we're probably going to get comments from people that were from that area that were like, "Oh man, they were huge." But
right.
for some reason they never broke out nationally and were played on radio stations everywhere, or radio stations at all. But these are AOR songs of that genre that we've described that we like as much as the big ones.
Yeah.
The ones that made it.
My
made
next
the
pick
charts.
got radio play. It's a pretty famous song, but it's like it was on a soundtrack. Unless you saw the movie, maybe you're not super familiar with the song.
My first lesser known song is a band called Aviator. They're from New York. They're an 80s band. Like, this album came out in 1986. I think this is the only album they made. Whoa. And they're not to be confused with the British prog band Aviator, which was guys from like Jethro Tull and Manfred Mann's Earth Band. And yeah, I mean, they're a great band like in that genre, but these guys are not to be confused with them. This is like an 80s AOR New York band. And so this is Aviator, Back on the Street. And every time I hear this song, I dance around my house like Kevin Bacon and Footloose and like mime all the lyrics and do some air guitar. And this song has got some killer whammy bar stingers.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've just like earwormed their way into my brain. So this is Aviator, Back on the Street.
Here we go.
So there it is.
Yeah. Like it was all the same ingredients in the stew, but instead of using like 70s broth, it was 80s broth as the base.
Yeah.
Like the guitar's a little more dialed up. Like everything's a little more like post Van Halen.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I almost put Jiresh and the Chronicles.
Oh, cool.
On my list, but they're a little too hard rock.
Yeah, they got a little bit of a metal edge to them.
Yeah, and these guys are kind of in that direction, but like
probably like all their fans
rocked,
like
man.
All their fans probably ended up being like Bon Jovi fans.
Right.
You know, like when Bon Jovi came around and these guys kind of didn't hit it big or something. But I'm sure there's still some Aviator fans out there.
Probably.
And the whole album, like if you haven't heard Aviator, like the whole album has, I mean, this is just one song from it. There's other songs that I could have just as easily picked. That,
I'm adding them to my library right now.
That like do the thing.
Nice.
And like the album cover too, just like captures, like, you know, like that's the chick you're gonna pick up and like take your T-tops off your IROC Z and like, you know, go to the lake or whatever. Yeah, and the lasers or whatever those lights are. It's just I mean, it's almost like bands today would like make something like that to like kind of make fun of that era because it's so like zoned into like what that time was.
Right.
Like, yeah, those guys just they're knee deep in it. Anyways, that's Aviator for you.
Yeah, those guys rocked, man.
Yeah, but like I'll put that on my MP3 player and like put the earbuds on and I just like want to like put on a headband and like do Karate Kid workouts or something.
Right.
Or get my Footloose on.
Yep.
Find low-hanging pipes to do gymnastics on.
Nice.
Yeah.
The pommel horse in the middle of the town of the crazies.
Yeah. The village pommel horse.
Yeah.
Jim
Yeah,
Cotta.
that was awesome.
For those for those who don't know what our reference is. Cool. All right. You got a lesser known,
Well,
lesser known than the chart
let's give
busters.
Aviator their due with the ratings.
Oh yeah. They got well, they're good, but they're a little too much. You know, it's like you could just eat like ice cream and it's like good ice cream, but then you could get like the full thing with all the sprinkles and stuff. That's going to give you a stomach ache. An Aviator might be just like a little too much.
I don't know, man. I've always been a more is more kind of guy. So
Yeah, there is that.
it's like this is like you go to Denny's and get the Grand Slam, and you're like, but I want the sausage links and the bacon. Like, don't make me choose.
Yeah, we can't. I guess I can't ding them for like going full turbo mode,
right?
Because that's what they were going for. Who am I to judge?
Right.
And I love it. If they were any less turbo mode, I wouldn't have put them on the playlist.
Exactly.
So I can't ding them for that.
Yeah, I'm giving them a solid 80.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. See, but I gave Head Games. I guess we just got to go gut.
Yeah.
Like you can't measure apples and oranges.
Exactly.
So I'll give it a 78.
Okay.
So that'll average out to 79. All right. What's up on your pick?
Okay. So my pick isn't really a lesser known. It's not lesser known if you're a fan of the movie or a particular episode of South Park. But yeah, Don Felder, Heavy Metal, in parentheses, Take a Ride.
For me, that's another element of the AOR stuff that I like is they open it up for the vocal to stick out.
Right.
They're not going like full banger all the time. They'll drop it down to like so the vocals have that impact.
Right.
I would say this is semi lesser known. Not everybody saw Heavy Metal.
True. But if you did, this was one of the songs.
Right. And I haven't heard this since I did see Heavy Metal.
Oh.
It's nice hearing guys like from the Eagles on their own also.
Right.
Because you hear what they brought to the Eagles,
exactly.
Right? Like when you hear Don Felder, it's like, oh, okay, he's the one that brought that to the Eagles.
Exactly.
Or you hear Joe Walsh, and it's like, yeah, that's what Joe Walsh brought to the Eagles.
It's almost too slow to really meet my definition, but like that intro, and it's got enough of the ingredients.
Yeah, there's enough there.
It put it into AOR for me. And like his voice kind of sounds like the guy from ZZ Top a little bit.
Yeah.
Like everything's kind of got that fuzz to it. So
yeah, it's has a warmth to it.
Yeah.
It's like warm sounding. Nothing's like spiking out at you too much. I hate to do this, but Heavy Metal. Well, a couple things about Heavy Metal. So Heavy Metal soundtrack, Sammy Hagar. Like, right, that's the standout on there. Right?
Yeah. And neither of them are Heavy Metal.
Right. See, that's my thing. It's like, okay, two things about that. Like to say Heavy Metal in a song and not be Heavy Metal, I'm probably not going to give it full points.
Right.
but also
unless it's
Sammy
Steppenwolf,
Hagar's.
but they were before. Like
Right.
heavy metal was already a
Right.
thing when this song and Hagar's song came out.
Right. Okay, but point two, Sammy Hagar's heavy metal,
Mm-hmm.
co-written by Jim Paterick.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yep.
He's just
So, okay.
all through this list.
So what do you give heavy metal Take a Ride?
By Don Felder. This one I will give a 69. Just for the
Nice.
lulls.
Yeah. I'll give it a 69 too. I don't mind the lulls. Oh, you mean LOLs?
Yes.
I thought you meant the lulls because of like the tempo
No.
in the song. Okay. For tempo wise and for the saying heavy metal without being heavy metal.
Right.
But they're talking about the magazine. But still, I mean, Sabbath was on that soundtrack.
It was
If you're gonna say metal, go metal.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll match your 69.
Okay. Yeah, it was Dio era Sabbath too.
Yeah. All right. Next up. You ready for the next one?
I am.
The next lesser known group. We're going all the way from the lesser known East Coast of New York with Aviator. Now we're coming back to the lesser known West Coast of the LA band 1994. Futuristic, but not that futuristic. So this is 1994 with the song Once Again. Yeah, 1994, Once Again.
Yeah, those guys are cool.
That might be borderline. You know, there's some pretty muso stuff going on in there.
Yeah,
You know,
I
they
was
got
going to say some of
those
the
little odd time signatures, a lot of
a
guitar
little
solo.
proggy,
Little bit.
but then it's like the vocals and like some of the other stuff was like totally like the Wilson sisters or Pat Benatar. Like,
well, yeah. What I hear is, I mean, AR is just not for the fellas. You know, we gotta give a shout out to the ladies here. You know.
Oh yeah,
Pat Benatar,
I almost added
Hart,
Pat
and Wilson.
Benatar. Yeah, because like for me, the like Pat Benatar is my rock and roll benchmark. But it's like if you don't rock harder, or if you don't rock as hard as Pat Benatar, you're not rock and roll.
Yeah.
Like she's the benchmark, like the gold standard of rock.
Yeah. She's a good point to measure against. Good standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so that's Karen Lawrence. And she's an amazing singer.
Totally.
You hear those harmonies she's doing with herself. Like Mariah Carey hits those notes and like everybody freaks out. But she's like holding those notes out and she's doing it with a rock voice.
Right.
So it's amazing, you know? And that song to me, like the verse it sounds like Sweet Jane.
Mm-hmm.
And then the chorus kind of goes into this like almost like a barracuda kind of thing. And that's when it's like, oh, that's like Ann Wilson kind of there. But she's her own singer. She just never got big. And like you said, Pat Benatar or even like Patti Smith.
Yeah.
Like not the New York poet.
Oh yeah. I know Patti Smith here.
But
talking about.
Yeah, the one married to John McEnroe. The Warrior.
Yes.
The Warrior.
That song almost made it on the list. On my list.
I mean, the ladies could rock it with the men, you know?
Totally.
They were putting up the good fight against the disco back then too, you know? So, yeah, just I had to have Karen Lawrence in 1994 on there. And there's another song called Shoot to Thrill that would have been interchangeable on this list.
Right.
But yeah, it might be a little too muso. Maybe that's why they didn't make it. But they rose out of a band called LA Jets.
Okay.
Out of Los Angeles, and kind of became 1994 with some member changes.
Okay.
Also, the keyboard player in that band, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, his name's Bill Rhodes, and he was in a band called Good Thunder.
Okay.
So not AOR, but kind of that proto 70s muso stuff that I usually listen to. So just a little tip there to throw in along with 1994.
Yeah, I'd never heard of those guys. They were cool.
I'm going to give it a 79 because it does the things that AOR does for me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also like musically interesting.
Right.
So I'm going to go 79 on that.
Okay. I'll go a little lower because, like, you're a musician. I'm not a musician. You got all the musical talent. I got none. But
it got a little fiddly there for you in bits.
But like, yeah, her vocals were dynamite. Like, yeah, and it had that definitely AOR, but I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 62.
62, okay.
Yeah, there was just a little that wasn't like just straight like Chimera music.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's not going to be played at the high school dance.
Well, I mean, it might, but like only if the nerdy kid gets to DJ.
Right. Okay. So, do you have another lesser known?
Yeah, unfortunately, these guys are lesser known. They were kind of a big deal around here. They're a Bay Area band, and
kind of a big deal. These guys were the band that if you were headlining and they opened for you, you'd get booed off the stage.
Yep. And
these guys had a serious following, like where we're from.
Yeah. And like if you wear a band shirt from them, like every time you wear it, you will have at least one person go, "Oh, hell yeah." Give you the thumbs up.
When I saw your list, that's what I texted you.
Yep. Yeah. Like after I started listening to these guys, like I saw a dude wearing a Y&T shirt at the grocery store. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, Y&T. He was like, every time I wear this shirt, man, I find another Y&T fan. So
Y&T reminds me of a bunch of guys in Levi's, because if you're from the Bay Area, you wear Levi's.
Yep.
Derby jackets, because derby jackets were made in San Francisco. They're like cool hipster clothes now, but like that's what your mom bought for you at like Sears.
Yep.
Back in the day. Black derby jacket. It was the uniform. Black derby jacket, kind of long, scraggly hair, Levi's, and like black, like combat boots or like logger boots.
Yeah.
Standing around a trash can, like burning stuff to like warm your hands before you go into the concert. That's like your Y&T fans right there.
Totally.
Hardcore.
Yep.
But not metal.
No.
I mean, they're metal, but they're AOR.
Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of just right in that pocket between like hard rock, heavy metal, AOR. Like they're almost the Bay Area's answer to Van Halen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah. And they played with everybody.
yeah, and they stole the stage from everybody.
Yeah. There's people that only listen to Dave Minichetti.
Yeah.
Like he's their guy.
Yep.
Yeah, they belong on the list. They're kind of a border band though, because like all the thrash metal bands from the Bay Area,
Mhm.
they were all Y&T fans growing
Oh
up.
yeah.
There's a little bit harder edge to those guys.
Yeah, but then this is one of their
And they came well, we said we weren't a history podcast,
Right.
but they came out of kind of like a hippie kind of band that was called Yesterday and Today.
Right.
And I think Yesterday and Today is like a Beatles song. Like I said, don't fact check us on this. But yeah, Yesterday and Today became Y&T, and Y&T was like a different ball of wax.
Definitely. And so yeah, the rest of these guys' songs, well, like Hurricane, yeah, it's more hard rock, but it's definitely an AOR-ish song. But then this song is one of their ballads, and it is solidly in AOR. It's a song that if it comes on the radio,
Nice.
you're turning it up, and it's like I had a coworker once refer to this as the ultimate baby making song. So
Nice.
this is "Rescue Me" by Y&T. Yeah, so
Balance restored. Balance restored. After hearing a song called Heavy Metal, that Felder song,
mhm.
like, yeah, everything's right with the universe again. Because not only is that song like AR too, but yeah, it filled that void
Right.
that I felt from hearing a song called Heavy Metal that was like an Eagles song,
Exactly.
like one of the harder Eagles songs. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, no like synthesizer, like, but it's got the acoustic guitar in there, and it's got that longing and yearning, but it's like if you're an AOR warrior and like you're rising up and like your back's against the wall and like you're kicking your way back to the top or whatever, and it's like sometimes the man still gets you down, sometimes the system still wins, and it's like, did I play to win or did I win to lose? And
Yeah.
sometimes those AOR warriors just need like the badass woman to rescue them. And so this song's kind of like the
That's
flip
true.
side. Like sometimes no matter how hard you fight, you still can't win. But if you got a team up with somebody who's
Sometimes when you're out there
badass,
fighting the world, you get a little weary.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need somebody at your side to fight along with you.
Yeah, to lift you up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't do it on your own.
Agreed. Well, you can, but yeah,
Not all the time.
every warrior, not all the time. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's like, and like on the lesser known tip, like what did like White Snake or like some big breakout have that Y&T didn't?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
not
I mean, other than like some Deep Purple heritage,
true.
which can take you far in this world.
That's true. That'll be a
But
recurring theme.
it's probably just the Bay Area curse, It's probably just the Bay Area curse.
Yeah, the shadow of Bill
All
Graham.
the great bands from not the shadow of Bill Graham so much as you're not in LA and you're not in New York.
Yeah, but it's like you have a promoter that doesn't really like your genre of music, and it's finicky. It's like, yeah, you kind of get shut out.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you don't get the play.
And they made records.
Yeah, but it's like, if they had somebody rescue them,
Yeah. That's what that song's about.
and put them on the air, like, yeah, they could have been.
Yeah.
They could have been enormous.
If they got that working man airplay on the right radio station.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what
If they had a bathroom break go-to song that got played like every shift.
yeah, what was the name of that lady that played Working Man?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, she's on the Rush documentary.
Broke Rush in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, she's their badass rocker woman that rescued Rush from being a Canada only band.
Yeah. Well, I think the way to look at Y&T is like they had it all like on the grassroots level.
Yeah.
Like they got the hardcore fan
Yeah, they
base.
earned every fan they ever got.
They worked hard, but they didn't have that like top down kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, they're never handed anything.
Right. Which makes them that much more working class appeal.
Right.
It's like they were the real deal of the AOR.
Exactly. They were living the
Right.
Yeah, walking the walk.
Right. Cool. Good pick. So we got to rate Y&T Rescue Me.
Yep.
So what do you got? Or should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to give it a 74.
Okay.
Because we gave the other heavy metal a 69.
Hmm.
And it's
It's got to be more than that.
It's 5 more than that.
Okay.
It should have been a 69, but I can't rate it the same as the other one.
That's true.
So
Yeah, I'll go Spirit of 76
76.
because
Nice.
yeah, it's like the only thing that brings it down from like an 80 is I mean, I love that song. It's just, is it true AOR? It's a little heavy, but it's
Yeah,
just like it has the vibe. It has all the
it
it's got
doesn't
the
have the
feel.
it doesn't have the slickness. Didn't have those synthy kind of things
Right.
going on.
But like
Yeah.
the lyrics and like the yearning and the
Yeah. It's the spirit of AOR
yeah
without the
yeah
big bucks record deal that all the other bands had. If some
exactly
producer
yeah
got a hold of Y&T, their records would have sounded like everybody else with just that little edge. Maybe they're too
right
hardcore to to make it to that level that
yeah probably
the other easier to shape bands would have been. Who
right
knows?
yeah. But it's like we said, they were walking the AOR walk.
Yeah.
Like they were living the lyrics to all of those songs.
Yeah. All right. So we've heard some classics. We've heard chart toppers and we've heard local folks that didn't make it for whatever reason, but still got to make records, still got to make great records, and we can still enjoy their music today.
Yep.
And speaking of enjoying music today, there's still bands out there that are keeping that flame lit.
Oh yeah. Like this has always been a pet peeve of mine is the people saying like, oh, there's no good music anymore. And it's like, well,
Right.
you just don't like what's being played on the radio. And it's like, I'm not knocking anything that they play on the radio these days. Like there's plenty of great stuff, but it's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like what was marketed to you as a teenager. Because it's being
That's something
marketed
to
to
think of
who's
though,
a
that
teenager
like
now.
that's something to think of though, like will there ever be another AOR?
Maybe. Like everything just comes around again.
Things are
Everything gets
cyclical.
reinterpreted.
But
Yeah.
as diluted and as niche as like the whole music scene has become, without their promotion that was there to like push bands to really break out, the only bands that are getting pushed are like the garbage that's out there now.
Well,
I don't know if there could be. I don't know if there could
there
be a
was a
rock
lot of
band that
garbage then too. That's my point.
right. But will there ever be an AOR style band that's actually promoted to like get to where like a Survivor or a Journey or a Foreigner, like a mass
Probably not.
appeal?
But it's
Probably
like,
not.
with the music industry being like more democratized, all of that stuff is A, still there, and B, like the entry into the music industry is like there are fewer bars to entry. And
Right.
so like
And people are
there are
not going
still
to
people making there are still people making the type of music that you love, no matter what the genre is today.
right.
There are new bands to be discovered that, are cooking with the same ingredients of the bands that you grew up on.
Right.
So
And they're
I
still
always
doing
take
it. They're still doing it today because it still feels good and they still love it.
exactly. Yeah, there's still all the passion. Like that never went
Yeah.
away. And then
Right.
so I always I always talk about like one of my coming up bands whenever people say, "Oh, there's no good music anymore." And it's like, "Well, you just haven't heard any." Like stop listening to whatever the algorithm feeds you and like find, listen to these guys or listen to those guys or like go see a band live and show up and watch the openers. Like,
And sometimes I think some people's complaints with the AOR thing might be that it's like, well, it's kind of tired and I've heard all that before. And it's like, some of it has been played to death. There's probably songs
right,
that could have made our list, but they've been played to death, or we just don't like them as much for some one reason or another. They didn't
right.
come across us at a time in life where it made that impact that it were like earwormed into our brains. But there's new music out there that has all the elements, like you said. And we're going to share some of that with you right now.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the same ingredients. But
So, with the continuing ongoing like ingredient that's in there is once again Jim Paterick. He's like everywhere. So
yeah,
his current project is called Pride of Lions. And it's cheesy, but it still makes me happy. So he's still doing all of that stuff and he's doing it just as good as ever. And I have an honorable mention to add later on, but I'll save that. But Paterick's still at it, man. I mean, he's going to be
yeah,
doing this till he can't anymore.
right.
And there's another element here. Like when I was a kid, when I was in 8th grade, you'd go to school and everybody had peachy folders, right?
Yep.
That's what you carried
Yeah.
your
With all the
papers
like
in.
collegiate
Y-
sports, they were kind of
Yeah, and yeah, you'd draw
like they,
mustaches on them or whatever, or make funny things out of the drawings.
yeah, they had like kind of a two-tone print uh, of like tennis players and like a football player and like track and like relay people running a
Yeah,
relay
people
race
running
and
or doing a turn on a track.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe did they have an ice skater or something too, like a figure skater?
I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if they
Pe-
still make peachy folders. Kids might not even know what we're talking about. But
right?
anyways,
But
people would
yeah,
write stuff
they
on
were
there and stuff.
ubiquitous, and they had a lot of like free space, a lot of negative space,
Right.
and then
So you
the
could write
the
little
artwork,
notes on there.
yeah, and the artwork was like pretty stylized and invited being graffitied. So
Yeah.
you already had your pen out like to draw
Right.
mustaches or
Right. So when you're in the 7th or 8th grade, lyrics, I think any good song lyric should be able to pass the Peachy Folder test, where like you would see that written down as poetry on like a 7th or 8th grade junior high school, or some people call it middle school, I guess. Junior high school. Well, for us, it was Rincon Valley Junior High. Walking the halls of Rincon Valley Junior High, you might see a lyric such as this written in like frilly girl writing on a peachy folder. So does it pass the peachy folder test? And then guys would have something a little more, they might do the AC/DC logo or something, or Led
Right.
Zeppelin, write that on your peachy folder. And like the quintessential peachy folder test of like just being simple and like common would be like Iron Man, like Black Sabbath Iron Man.
Exactly.
It rhymes. It's like the meter is right. It's simple. It gets the point across. So my next song is Pateric again, Pride of Lions. And before we play the song, I just want to read some of the lyrics. It was so long ago, yet just the blink of an eye. You wore a certain smile that tempted me to stop a while. We shared our hopes and plans. We walked as we held hands. You took my heart away on the winds of destiny. Whoa, carry me back to the lights of the city, the long hot summer back in 83. Carry me back to the moment we met as we figured out the mystery. So, I don't know. In my book, that passes the Peachy Folder test right there. So,
Definitely.
with that, should we give Pride of Lions a listen? The song's called
Absolutely.
Carry Me Back.
Here we go. Awesome.
There's a whole lot of destiny going on there.
Totally.
That Take
moment
Me
in
Back's got
time
that
when the planets
nostalgia
align.
factor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Back in 83.
The video's cool too, if you ever see the video. Like the high singer guy that he's got, like he's like the cool youth pastor. And like Pateric's even more rock and roll looking than like when he was in Survivor.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's still doing it.
Yeah. Maybe if the listeners want, maybe we'll do some React special episodes
Yeah.
of us reacting to some videos, because there's a couple winners.
Yeah, they do them right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like those lyrics are just like solid. They've got they hit all the beats with those lyrics, man.
Yeah, it's like it's formulaic, but it works.
Yeah, it's a good formula.
Yeah.
Like having those simple rhymes where it's just like, you hear the song once or twice, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
there's this line followed by this line. Like having those simple rhymes over and over again, like really,
The
really does it.
the interesting thing about that song too is it's looking back. So it's got that yearning,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like you're looking back at the point from where that yearning was fulfilled to a certain degree. And you're looking back to when you were still yearning for that, but
Uh-huh.
knowing that you aren't yearning for that anymore. But the fact that you were yearning for it makes you like still appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So you're
that
no
passion's
longer
still there.
yearning. Yeah, you're no longer yearning, but yeah, all that feeling and excitement is still there.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the fire's still burning.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Eye of the Tiger, but in a way, it kind of is a perfect song.
Yeah.
You know, because he had other songs that I could have picked. You know, Pride of Lions has a few albums out, but like that one was like, oh yeah, it's got to be on the list, just because it
Oh,
it
yeah,
like
for sure.
it ticks all the boxes. So
Yeah, especially because we're including modern stuff.
yeah, I think I'm gonna. Well, you go ahead. You go ahead and score.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a. I want to go that high. I'm tempted to go 80. I think I would go 80 if I hadn't seen the video. I
But
think
you
I'm going to
have
have to
seen
go.
the video.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go 78.
78.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought the video would have like bumped it up a notch. Or do you think they're
Yeah,
trying too hard?
I don't think they're trying too hard. I think it's just if I had no idea who any of those guys were or what they looked like or their particular footwear, I would have rated them
Uh-huh.
higher. But
Well, give me the blind rating then. An 80
okay,
for a blind rating?
it's 80. Yeah, it's a solid 80 because I mean it's got all the ingredients, it's got the sound.
I can't believe you're gonna deduct points for footwear.
Well, I'm giving it a 78 because or I wanted to give it a 78 because you know I could imagine it being pressed into like a long play record, an
Okay.
LP. I can
Yeah.
imagine it on vinyl, spinning
Okay.
at 78 RPMs.
Okay. So we'll call it an 80.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it like an 85, I think.
Dang.
Because I mean, looking back, like the body of work this guy's done, and like he's still got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 85. That'll put it at like 82 and a half or something.
Yeah. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, and even he would admit that this is not his Eye of the Tiger. You know,
Right.
that dude goes to the mailbox every day, and there's like a check in there for Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
And he's not going to knock that, but he's not going to quit doing what he's doing either.
Exactly.
He's not going to sit back and rest on his laurels of Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah. Yeah. He's still doing it.
Okay.
So
You got
quick aside, TT folders are still in production, but they have changed the artwork slightly. It's the exact same themes, but they've just updated the artwork. And on the front was a tennis player, two football players, like a football tackle, some guys running around a track, like three guys running around a track. On the back was a catcher and a batter playing baseball, a guy doing a jump shot in basketball, and like two other players,
Oh
and
yeah.
then a skier on a ski lift. Yeah, like a skier on a ski lift, looking over her shoulder. And there's like skiers in the background coming down the slopes. Yeah, you can get a 5-pack of them off of Amazon for $10.
Cool.
And
PG
if you do a Google image search, there will be pictures of them defaced or enhanced. And we could probably make some episode playlists based on what's written on some of these TG folders
Oh man.
back in the day.
Oh nice. There's a Randy Rhoads guitar on that one.
Yeah, and like Kiss running around a track.
Oh yeah. That was always a popular graffiti thing to do the Kiss makeup faces.
Yep.
All right.
Right. Should we
What's your
continue with
next
sports
pick?
pairs?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, these guys are my ultimate pick for like a response to there's no good music anymore. Like that
They don't
statement
make music like they used to.
exactly. Those statements just get shut down because there's this band and I don't know all of the details, but it was a group of musicians that were all on tour and just started like they were from different bands. They all started kind of jamming together and talking about music and talking about the music that they loved. And AOR was like kind of their common ground or like the thing they were all like secretly loved, like you and me.
Yeah, common ground at like a touchstone.
Yeah, touchdown. And so they're like started just writing some songs and they started writing some songs and put them out on an album and then they just kept doing it. And
And these guys are so cool and so good that this is our second double picker of the show. We're one
yes,
show in and we already have two double pickers.
they're that good.
Survivor and these guys.
Yep. So my pick is Reach Out by the Night Flight Orchestra.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the second time I've heard someone talking about going the distance today.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got all the ingredients. And then one of the things I love about that song, like I love every single Night Flight Orchestra song. And but that song in particular, the like off key vocals, like because then you gotta like it reminds me of like Dire Straits or Men at Work, like those kind of little like refrains.
Yeah, when I heard the high backup vocals,
Uh
it
huh.
reminded me of like Sweet Love is Like Oxygen.
Right.
It had like that kind of phasey smear to it, but it's like,
Right.
yeah, it's a cool production. Yeah.
Yeah, but then those off key vocals just like bring it back to like that working man, like kind of has a Dire Straits vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Isn't there a bass player in like King Diamond's band or something like that?
Yeah, and they're singers, like a melodic death metal singer.
Yeah, I think the singer and guitar player are in well, most of these guys are from Sweden, but
Sweden and Denmark.
Sweden and Denmark. Yeah, the singer and guitar player are from Soilwork.
Yeah, so like these guys are like my ultimate mind blower band, where it's like, listen to this song. What year do you think this came out?
Right.
And it's like, no, this came out in like 2018. And
And
and then
what
like,
label are these guys on? They're on a metal label. I mean, the cool thing is like that these guys will play at metal festivals
yes,
and people just are loving it, you know?
yeah,
It's just it's like the it's like the palate cleanser between like just the brutality of, you know, whoever's playing at this metal festival. These guys will get up and people just love it.
yeah, they're on Nuclear Blast.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So continue on that same train. My pick is also the Night Flight Orchestra for my last torchbearer newer band that has the AOR sound. Is also the Night Flight Orchestra, and the song I picked is called Something Mysterious.
incredible.
Like that little Cheers piano ending right there.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I could have picked any number of songs from those guys, but
Yeah.
I picked that one because I love the video, but that was also kind of my introduction to them.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw her, I probably listened to it like 5 times in a row, and it was just stuck in my head, like, like ever since then. So that was like my gateway introduction to Night Flight Orchestra. So
Yeah.
that's why that
Yeah.
was my pick.
That was the first album of theirs that I had. And like I saw that they had 2 others, and I was like, okay. Like the first song is totally rad, and the second song is one of my favorite songs of all time, Star of Rio.
Okay.
And so I downloaded that album and was listening to it, and I got to the third song, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna stop and go back and download their other 2 albums. Like I got 3 songs into that album. Like I hadn't even heard Something Mysterious before I was just like, I am a diehard fan.
So aside from just like totally nailing the whole AOR thing, like they also kind of are like this concept band, right? Like,
Yeah,
what's the thread through all their albums?
when they were talking about forming the band, they said, we all reached a point where we can all play pretty much play and sing whatever we want. We didn't talk much about chord changes or amplifiers during the recording sessions. But we spent a lot of time discussing Kierkegaard's concept of anxiety, different vintages of sparkling wine, and the psychoacoustic aspects of modulation, the innate superiority of women, and why a pearl necklace always looks better when whoever wears it has a bored expression on her face.
Nice.
It's kind of just like their philosophy of just like late night, you're starting to slightly sober up, and like seeing the world in a different light, like through the corners of your eyes.
Yeah.
Like a glimpse of a different dimension.
So there's still people out there putting out new material that will give you the feel goods as well. If you're into this kind of stuff,
Yep.
like my opinion of it is that life's too short not to have guilty pleasures,
Definitely.
and like, why not enjoy this? I mean, who's watching you that like you'd be embarrassed to find out that you're like, I don't know, shadow boxing to Eye of the Tiger.
Right. Yeah, if somebody has a problem with that, they're wrong.
Exactly. All right, so
Joint
it's a
joint
vast
scores for
yeah.
Night Flight Orchestra.
Well, oh man, how do you score them? They're almost unscorable.
Yeah.
Just because they're so like eminently listenable, and because you can just listen to them at face value. There's no like nostalgia attached or anything. It's fresh. It's quality. Sometimes the guy's voice gets a little too edged for me.
Right.
He's not like a pure singer like a Lou Graham or something. He's a great singer,
right.
and it totally fits the band perfectly. But yeah, it's like you can't compare them to the old stuff but you can enjoy them in the same way that you enjoy the old stuff.
Exactly.
I think I'd give them like a 80, 89, like just on a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a song that I don't like of theirs, or that I think I don't like as much as the others, it's just because I haven't listened to that one enough.
Right.
So yeah, I'd give them like a 89.
Okay.
Like, just, I mean, both the songs, because they do different things, but they're consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's like their entire catalog is like the discography of an AOR band from an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like this weird parallel nostalgia that it's like I feel
makes you think of
nostalgic for a life I never lived because it's
right.
from an alternate timeline.
Right. You can have the nostalgia of what should have been.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay, so what's your number? Can you put a number on that?
Oh, well, yeah, we should do ratings for each of these songs. Because like
well, I'd give them an 89 for both, because to me they do the same thing, but they do, it's like two forks of the same road.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll give them a 90.
Nice.
Because only because we didn't do Star of Rio. Star of Rio is a 98 for me. Like that is a perfect song.
Nice.
Or as close to perfect as humans can get.
So check that one out if you haven't. Okay. Yeah, my alternate pick, because I wasn't sure what song you were going to pick. I knew you'd pick a Night Flight Orchestra one.
Right.
But my backup, in case you picked something mysterious, was going to be Domino.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
That song's dope.
Yeah.
That song's dope. Okay. So I think we're like ready to move on to like, AOR is such a huge thing. I mean, like we're talking like spanning decades.
Yeah.
And like a whole side of the radio dial was playing this kind of music. You know, we left out a lot of people we should have talked about.
Right.
But we do have some honorable mentions that we would be that we feel we would be remiss not to bring up. So, do you want to throw me one or all of your honorable mentions?
There's one song in particular. The rest of my honorable mentions are everything else that the Night Flight Orchestra has done. Like, just listen to these guys. If you haven't heard them, listen to them. They're incredible. But getting back to Eye of the Tiger, I had to put that on the list because if we didn't, it would be our fault for not putting it on the list. Like someone would get mad.
People would have probably
yeah,
and people probably would have stopped listening to us. Like, what? They're doing AOR and no Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah, exactly. These guys don't know what they're talking about.
The rest, please forgive us. But we did include Eye of the Tiger.
And so this song, I have no confirmation, but just my gut feeling is that this was this band's response to Eye of the Tiger and kind of AOR as a whole.
Interesting.
It gets an honorable mention. I don't think it's actually AOR, but it's one of the stripes of the tiger. This is Tiger by ABBA. Yeah. So
okay. Are you gonna try and find some way to slip an ABBA song into every single episode?
No. As much as I love ABBA, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Okay, I'm not going to rate that one, but yeah, I can see why you threw it in there.
it can count as an honorable mention, and we won't rate those
Okay.
because
Okay. Yeah.
it's like, ABBA is just they're so ABBA, and it's like they heard "Eye of the Tiger," they heard it and loved it, and were like,
Ah,
yeah, let's write a song like that, but missed the point in the most adorable way possible.
okay.
And like, again, we're not going to do reaction video or reaction episodes to videos, but like,
Right.
if you can find a decent version of the video for that song, it's had a lot of like digital decay over the years. So like the only version I could find recently like was pretty grainy. It's the two singers driving around in a convertible, like in a city at night. Like they're driving around in a convertible and they're wearing like denim tuxedo. They were trying to make the AOR stew, but they only had like Norwegian grocery store tube based ingredients, like squeezy tube pastes to make the stew. Yeah, we're gonna make a beef stew, but we're gonna throw some herring in there.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so my honorable mentions, like as a Bay Area kid that grew up in the 70s, I have to include Journey Lights. And Journey was the huge breakout band. They were definitely in the AOR camp.
Right.
But Journey Lights, certain radio stations would play that every night, like when the sun was going down.
Yep.
When the lights go down in the city, the sun shines on the bay. It's such a memory, like driving across Golden Gate Bridge or something, the sun's going down, and you have the radio on, and there's Journey, it's just like,
Yeah, it's always there for you.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just such a part of the time and the place. And then I had a few others. So I had 38 Special. They're kind of AOR. I mean, they're late 70s rock guitar stuff, but their two best songs, Hold On Loosely, Caught Up in You. I don't know, maybe I'll save those if we do like a Southern rock kind of thing.
Right.
Southern rock and 3 guitars instead of 2 guitars and no keyboards is not going to get you AOR.
Yeah.
Like on the list.
Yeah, it's a little too far
those are
from the
great
bullseye.
songs. Yeah, those are great hooky songs. And both those songs were also written by Jim Paterick.
Yeah, he's the spine of this entire
Right.
AOR
So like
skeleton.
that's another reason I would include those, because it's like they'd just be too much at that point. Another one, April Wine, great band.
Mm-hmm.
But I might save them for like a Canadian band show.
Right.
Or something, and they're a little more rockin',
Yeah. That's
but they had
them.
ballads and stuff too. They're solid AOR. We'll talk about them another time.
Yeah.
Toto, Hold the Line.
Yeah.
And if you've never heard St. George and the Dragon.
I haven't heard St. George and the Dragon. I've heard Hold the Line, and that would have been a solid pick.
I like Hold the Line because when I would go to Starskate, all they would be playing is disco, but the DJ always had a Toto album because they're huge. So I could have them play Hold the Line, and I could like get out there, and when I had hair, I could feel the wind blowing through my hair as I'm skating around.
Love isn't always on time.
Yeah, like the DJ wouldn't play other stuff I wanted to hear, but that was like when I could get a little rock and roll fix.
Right.
Even at Starskate World. Right. But if you haven't heard St. George and the Dragon, and you like AOR, that might be their most AOR song.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Okay. And my last honorable mention, just like Paterick with Pride of Lions and everything else, I gotta give a shout out to Stan Bush. The Touch
Yep.
from the Transformers, the movie, 1986.
Yeah.
Killer AOR song. And he's still doing it today. If you have Netflix, go to Netflix. Check out The Last Kumite. There's a song on there called No Surrender.
Yeah.
It's Stan Bush still fanning the flames.
Yep.
But yeah, The Touch. It's like for a kids movie, but it's like hell yeah, you know?
Yeah. It's a total montage song for sure.
Yeah. Did you have a little anecdote about the Transformer movie?
Do you want me to share it?
Yeah.
So yeah, my experience, I heard that song on the radio all the time. But like if any of you are Simpsons fans, which if you're around our age, you've probably seen plenty of Simpsons episodes. If you remember the episode where the Itchy and Scratchy movie was coming out and Bart got a bad report card, and so Marge wouldn't let him go see the Itchy and Scratchy movie. And so he just missed out on this huge chunk of his childhood. And there's like a flash forward at the end of the episode where Bart finally sees the movie and he's like an old man. And he's like, yeah, okay, that movie was okay. And so I had the exact same experience, but with the Transformers movie. The Transformers, a movie.
Not to be confused with the stuff with like Megan Fox in it or whatever.
Yeah.
Those Bumblebee or whatever those movies are.
Yeah. Yeah. The original animated 80s one. And so
right.
I got a bad report card. Mom wouldn't let me go see it in the theater. And I missed out on this whole chunk of my childhood. So all of my peers at school telling me, like, oh, yeah, Optimus Prime died. Like they killed Optimus Prime. And I didn't believe them because it was like, they wouldn't do that. That's just stupid. Why are they going to kill off the main guy? Like, come on.
Right.
And so I didn't believe it for a long time. And then found out through other means that it's Optimus Prime dies. They actually went there. And so I never saw the movie until I think this year. So I was 50 years old. Yeah, when I was 10 years old, like I was super into the Transformers. Like I watched the cartoon every day after school. Loved all the toys. Huge Transformers fan. Didn't see the movie until I was 50. And it was like, oh yeah, okay. This movie kind of sucks. Like the plot's really kind of flimsy. And like, wait, oh, now they're flying back all the way back to Earth. Oh, okay, wait. Okay, there's a lot of just like running around and shooting lasers. And so I wonder if Mom just didn't want to go see that in the theater. Like, I think I might have been too young to just get dropped off. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to sit through this garbage. And so
maybe not.
As much as I was disappointed in finally seeing the movie, it was like, this soundtrack is dynamite.
Right.
Like
the movie might
is the
not
star
hold
of
up,
the show.
but the music definitely holds up.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Mom will come up in a lot of episodes as we talk about different things.
Right. She's the reason I like ABBA so much.
So if you have stories you want to share or profess your love of AOR, maybe turn us on to some bands that you think we'd like, you can reach out to us at hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com. So like that's the only thing we have going right now. So if you want to get in early on the love,
Yeah.
you can reach out to us there. We'll come up with other things down the road, but this is episode 1.
Yep.
We're just starting out, just figuring this thing out. We're late to the game. Probably a little too old to be influencers. Is that what they call it?
I think so.
Something like that.
I don't think
But
either of
anyways,
us are pretty enough to be influencers.
no.
I think I'd have to lose 50
podcast
pounds
only
and shave.
Yeah. We'll keep it a podcast, but there might be developments down the road. We'll see how long we can stick this thing out, and we have plenty of music to talk about. AOR is just like one slice of the pie.
Do we want to say what's the next episode's going to be?
I don't know what the next episode is going to be. Why don't you pull it out of a hat? You pick it.
Okay. Yeah, and then you can pick the one after that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's do ska.
Ska.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
You're gonna convince me. You're gonna try and convince me that I should listen to ska.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
You don't listen to ska? Why don't?
Episode 2. I listen to some ska, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
I also am not a fan of a lot of ska, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for episode 2.
All righty.
So thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully we didn't bore you to death, and hopefully we can do a lot more of these.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Checking out music with my bro. Will it dig it? Yes or no?